let's speak about interpretation and interpretational choices that we have in this piece. So what is quite important, in my opinion, is to notice the difference between mezza voce, that is being written in the beginning of the score, and sottovoce, that is being written in the second section, in the bar number 25. So the basic difference between these two is that mezza voce is played, it means that we have to play quite softly, but with a good projection of the voice. So nevertheless, it's an embodied sound. It should sound quite deep, while sottovoce, this is kind of a whisper, so we really have to play very, very softly. That's why traditionally for Chopin, when we see mezza voce, traditionally is being played without the left pedal, and sottovoce is being played with the left pedal. That's why in the beginning we are searching for the deep sound, but nevertheless the sound that gives us this sense of a huge space, of a huge depth, because the distance between hands is tremendous. And actually this is interesting, that this nocturne, it doesn't really have any slightest touch of sentimentality and amusement that might still be felt in many other nocturnes of Frédéric Chopin, but this piece rather corresponds to his later highly dramatic and anti-sentimental pieces like Fourth Ballade, Polonaise Fantasy, and some others, works that are so profound and absolutely don't have these qualities of a salon music that might be composed just for amusement, just for entertaining of a cultured society. This work is a very tragic and very dramatic one. That's why we might want to avoid any sentimentality and any sweetness in this piece. That's why from the very beginning, of course, this support on the left hand that I was speaking about in the previous lesson is very important in order to achieve that deep, soft but firm touch. And of course, it's very important to phrase this music properly. So at the very beginning, we have to move through the whole phrase, which is 4 bars long. For that, we shape this phrase dynamically. So intensifying to A flat. Then this syncopated rhythm that appears in the second bar, I would play this syncope almost kind of earlier than it's supposed to be, because if we would play it exactly on time, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and it sounds a bit formal, it sounds like conventional, and we want it to sound tense and we want it to sound special. So bum 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 bum. In these melodies, of course, we would shape them following the direction of movement. So when melody goes down, we would play softer diminuendo towards D, and then crescendo toward the higher part of the motif. So basically in this piece we just follow the logic of development. When the melody goes up, we make a slight crescendo. When the melody goes down, we make a slight diminuendo. And of course, regarding tempo, this part is fairly slow, of course. But in order to feel it as a flow, and in order to feel it in long phrases, in order not to sound vertical, like not to sound static, we have to feel this music almost in 2, so almost alla breve. Although it's written in 4 beats, but try to feel it almost as alla breve, like 1, 2, 1, Because if you would feel that in 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, it sounds immediately more steady and much less vibrant and much less in a flow. So that's a small tip in order to make it moving, in order to make it flow, despite this slow tempo. In order to play all these 16 notes that are plenty here, in order to make them sound vibrant, tense, we should feel the pulsation of 16th notes. It means that I feel that pum 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 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1. And also it's a huge topic actually about these dotted rhythms, because we can affect the character of the piece tremendously just adjusting this dotted rhythm just a tiny bit. Because if I would play that faster, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1, it gives this kind of playful feeling to the music. But if I would stretch it a little bit, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1, it makes the music more persistent, more dramatic, and more tense. Of course, we have to be very delicate in choosing how exactly we want it to sound, and I spent a lot of time playing around with such things in order to refine my interpretation. But just in order to find your way how to pronounce these dotted rhythms, just don't forget to feel that pulsation of 16th notes. And then there is a suggestion of crescendo toward the end of the phrase, which might actually work if you would would resist making crescendo before. So diminuendo, and then slight crescendo, and then we can use this crescendo in order to continue the music to the next phrase, to lead the music toward the next phrase, in order to achieve one flow through these phrases. Because if we would make diminuendo, it would rather wrap music up, and then the next phrase would sound as a new beginning. So it might sound convincing, but there is also a danger that it would sound everything separated, and we don't want that. I would mark that A flat more in order to listen to it, because we have to hold this note. And I would play that bass on the first beat in the bar number 6 softer in order to hear still that A flat. And then of course diminuendo. Here we have to switch the finger 3 to 5 and then mark that D slightly. Playing the left hand much softer so it would not interfere with the melody. Making crescendo toward the E flat. I would mark the 16th note here in order to make it pam pam, more heavy, more dramatic, because if I would play like that, it would make it rather relieved, rather playful, and then a very soft ending. But I would avoid any kind of rallentando here, so staying in tempo with a proper diminuendo. And in order to play that carefully, we have to play this with a very released wrist and find one smooth motion for all these notes. So like that. And then in the bar number 9 we have an absolutely magic section, and I prefer to play it in a very irreal sound, in a very irreal setting. So I change the sound completely, and I take quite a lot of time. 3, 4, 1, and I press the keys so slowly, so it would almost sound not like a beat, but like a. I want that kind of sound without any attack, without any percussion effect. And then, of course, taking your time for this the smaller notes. Everything is very foggy and very dreamy here, and then suddenly we return to the reality after this beautiful D flat major chord, and then a short pause. I would mark it with the pedal, lifting the pedal right on the pa-bam. Crescendo, diminuendo. So this phrase is very expressive, and in order to do that we might use some rubato, using more time for this leap because it's so expressive. And then after you reached G, make sure to make a proper diminuendo, and then slightly marking with tenuto this B, and then softer. That's a very lonely phrase, and we might mark that loneliness by a very subtle touch. Mark, and then softer. It's very important to play that ascending line softer after you have marked the first note. So mark, but then softer, and then even. We use a lot of rubato here, and I would avoid playing those notes quickly. I would rather play them in a very free kind of improvisation, but singing improvisation manner. And then music becomes more intensive, and then we have a long 8 bars development with a lot of jazzy intensive chords in the left hand, but it's very important to continue enforcing this flow with energy. Of course, we need some time for this leap. And then take your time for this painful chromatic line. I also make some rallentando at this bar after the third beat in the bar number 23, so we arrive here, and there we might take even more time in order to create more tension. And then I start these middle voices. I still start them quite loudly and then make diminuendo closer to the end of the bar, so even softer, and finally a huge difference in dynamics.